chapter 15 of Wuthering Heights, Mr. Lockwood has heard Mrs. Dean's story and is now retelling it in a condensed version. When Edgar's at church, Mrs. Dean gives Cathy a letter from Heathcliff. Before she can get a response from Cathy, Heathcliff walks through the open doors of Thrushcross Grange. Seeing that Cathy is dying, he breaks down as they hold and kiss each other, both crying and talking about Cathy's impending death. Cathy says Heathcliff and Edgar have both broken her heart, but she tells Heathcliff he's the one who killed her and thrives on it. She wants to hold Heathcliff until they are both dead. To Mrs. Dean, who refers to herself as a cool spectator, it seems fitting Cathy deem that heaven would be a land of exile to her. Upset for being blamed for her death, Heathcliff asks if she is possessed by a devil to talk to him that way. Cathy then lashes out at Mrs. Dean. "Nellie, you think you are more fortunate. You are sorry for me. I shall be sorry for you. I shall be incomparably beyond and above you all." Cathy stands up, but the strain makes her convulse. She and Heathcliff spring toward each other, and he foamed like a mad dog and gathered her to him with greedy jealousy. Heathcliff accuses Cathy of being cruel, leaving him and betraying her own heart because degradation and death and nothing that God or Satan could inflict would have parted us. You, of your own will, did it. Cathy sobs for him to leave her alone. She is dying for whatever she did wrong, and she forgives him and asks that he forgive her. He says he can forgive her for murdering him, but not for killing herself. Mrs. Dean is nervous because Edgar will return soon, but Cathy won't let Heathcliff leave. Sure enough, Edgar appears in Cathy's room. Heathcliff is holding her in his arms, but Cathy has fainted, so Edgar must tend to her instead of fighting with Heathcliff. Mrs. Dean thinks it's better for Cathy to be dead than to be a living burden who makes everyone around her miserable. Heathcliff sneaks out, telling Mrs. Dean he will be hiding in the garden tomorrow. The narrator changes back to Mr. Lockwood here, and the story will now be his recounting of what Mrs. Dean told him. The themes of good versus evil and love run together in chapter 15. The idea that going against the heart and soul causes suffering is reinforced by Cathy and Heathcliff's intense agony in this chapter. Then Heathcliff, the anti-hero, questions if his beloved is evil, and he judges her, declaring everything is her fault and her choice. The idea of free will is an important religious concept alluded to all throughout this chapter. The central choice individuals make between good and evil. The exploration of free will and people choosing their own suffering begins here, and it will continue to show up as the story moves forward.